So the ancestral guardian barbarian, when
I'm sorry. Did you say ancestral?
Yes, I believe this barbarian has a thing for his sister.
Did I really say ancestral?
Incestual barbarian. That's what Kevin's currently building.
Ancestral. Am I talking fast? Am I doing
Oni-chan,
that thing again?
no etchy.
Just gotta enunciate. Ancestral.
Ancestral.
Welcome to Monsters in Multiclass, your weekly Dungeons and Dragons fix between your play sessions. I'm Kevin Odie,
I'm Jared Bornigal.
And I'm Will Meldon.
and we'll be hanging out with you for the next hour to discuss anything and everything Dungeons and Dragons related. This is episode number 3. We'll be taking a look at the Rogue Barbarian, and then digging into the Yochlol demon from the Monster Manual. So take a seat and stick around. I don't know what that is.
I still think we need to use that. Yeah, song. I love that song.
That we always fight to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so bad. What the fuck is she saying?
All right, so I'd like to start off today with the usual, some first impressions. As Kevin mentioned in our intro, I'm personally not too excited by this Rogue Barbarian synergy. It doesn't sound like it's going to work out great. Kevin's going to completely own me, though. So give some first impressions, Kevin. Why are you excited?
So initially, I was on the same page as you. I thought strength and dex and sneaky and getting sneak attack can't work with strength weapons and stuff like that. But I think you can make some really cool characters and pull off some cool combos. I'm not saying this is an optimized character thing. We never go for optimization. Just cool character concepts with some unique combinations, which I could dig into now. But, well, what's your first thoughts, you guys?
Well, as the less intellectual and more handsome member of the group, I generally like to stick to RP. D&D to me is not numbers. It's not trying hard. It's just having fun. And quite frankly, this flavor doesn't do much for me. The problem is whenever I think of a barbarian and a rogue, I think of two almost polar opposite buddies who are just, they approach everything differently, but they're the best of friends and they make a great addition to the adventuring party.
So what you're
Now
saying,
you want to smash them together and ruin both their unique flavors.
So what you're saying is this needs to be somebody who has a split personality.
No, I think both classes are too dumb to actually justify a split personality. So it's just going to be a forced personality, in my personal, non-mechanical opinion.
Okay, well, with that, Kevin, seeing as you have so much pent-up discussion in your heart, just go ahead, take us away.
Well, it's not much. I have like 2 ideas, but...
This was a huge mistake.
Well, let's hear at least one of them.
So, with the... I understand how these seem like polar opposites. How can this work? I really love the idea of the character who comes off as the typical barbarian, make them like a half-orc. They're a big dumb brute with a 2-handed weapon. But then they have this underhanded, sneaky side to them that they keep hidden, that they could pull out whenever they need. And then especially with like Barbarian, by level 5, you get 2 attacks. So you could do shit like surprise dagger to the kidneys. So, I mean, you get a big...
That usually does hurt.
Yes. No, exactly. So you have Orc Barbarian that has a maul or a great sword charging at somebody. They take a big whack out of them with that weapon. And then they pull out a dagger from somewhere. It's easy enough to have a dagger anywhere on your body. They would probably have a whole bunch of them because they're going to be strong because they're a barbarian. And then that dagger all of a sudden out of nowhere shanks them in the side, and that triggers sneak attack.
Yeah, but can you do that as your second attack, your extra attack?
I don't see why not. I don't think it says anything about switching weapons or not. I know there's the whole thing about dropping weapons, but so, all right, so you have 2-handed weapon. You let go with one hand. And that weapon, so you still have control over it. And then you have the other hand to just quickly pull out a dagger and boom. And that's a finesse weapon. And as we talked about previously, the sneak attack has to be a finesse weapon. But it doesn't have to be using dex. So finesse allows you to use dex or strength.
Right,
So
true.
a short sword, a rapier, a dagger, what have you. they're all finesse and will trigger sneak attack, but you can still utilize your strength
Ooh.
to hit them.
Kevin is coming in with this.
Yeah.
Because now that I think about it, barbarians don't dump dex anyways.
Right.
No.
So anything you might need as a rogue with dex, you've already got, and you can attack with your main status strength. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And mechanically speaking, switching your weapons for your second attack does not work out in your favor unless you've got a sneak attack behind it.
Yeah. And it's also just like a dagger. I think big, dumb, not a big, strong. Their intelligence doesn't really matter to their ability to hold daggers. A big, strong barbarian, you can have like 6 daggers on them at any point in time, easily accessible.
Daggers are also able to be thrown, which could be good if you just can't make that make it out far enough.
Right.
And instead of relying on javelins like barbarians normally do, you can get that thrown dagger, which could be kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and then if you when you stand with the dagger, you don't need to worry about resheathing that or anything because it's just a dagger.
Yeah, just leave
it in them. Let go of it. And
From a tactical perspective, removing the dagger is usually your best bet. The blood flow is usually impeded by the bladed weapon.
Thank you, Will. That's
D&D is not a physics simulator.
This is more of a medical simulator kind of thing that I'm going for. This is for anyone who dreams of one day stabbing someone in real life. Just remember, pull it out or they'll probably stay alive.
okay. And then you have reckless attack, which you get it's just like level 2 barbarian, maybe even level 1. Yeah, level 2. So at the beginning of your turn, you could choose to attack recklessly and give yourself advantage. The drawback is that then any attack on you has advantage, but a rogue attacking with advantage automatically gets sneak attack.
And disengage is a bonus action.
Exactly. Yep. A barbarian with cunning action is some scary, scary shit.
Damn, that's a very mobile barbarian.
Yes. And to take it even further, you need, I think, barbarian 5, rogue, just rogue 2 for cunning action. And to do the ancestral guardian barbarian, I came up with this whole little cool combo. So the ancestral guardian barbarian, when
I'm sorry. Did you say ancestral?
Yes, I believe this barbarian has a thing for his sister.
Did I really say ancestral?
Incestual barbarian. That's what Kevin's currently building.
Ancestral. Am I talking fast? Am I doing
Oni-chan,
that thing again?
no etchy.
Just gotta enunciate. Ancestral.
Ancestral.
Ancestral barbarian. When they first go that route, I think at level 3, when they're raging, the first attack of a turn will send their ancestral spirits on whatever they attack. And then that hampers that target. So then for the rest of that turn, that creature will have disadvantage on anybody it attacks except for the barbarian. And if it manages to hit someone else, that person has resistance to any damage they cause.
So that really benefits you to just get out of there.
Exactly.
And make it kind of their only option
Yeah.
unless they want to invoke an opportunity attack.
So you recklessly attack, two-handed weapon, slash the shit out of them, surprise dagger to the kidneys, get sneak attack off of it, disengage as a bonus action, and because barbarians also move faster by level 5, you could probably run back 40 feet. And there's a really good chance whatever you just did that to, who now really needs to attack you, otherwise they're kind of gimped, can't reach you. Most monsters seem to cap at 30. Obviously, that's not always the case, and there's always ways around it, but I think it's a really cool combo.
Yeah, and not to min-max this one too much, it might even be good to hold if you roll high in the initiative order and let one of your other melee combatants get up close, where then once they're up close, you charge in, do that sneak attack combo, and then get out of there. So that way they now have to provoke an opportunity attack to run towards you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless they want to disengage, which means they're not going to take any attack that turn.
Right.
Unless they're a rogue barbarian.
Unless they're also a rogue barbarian, which there's not going to be very many of. So mechanically speaking, we've got a solid base, but let's talk about RP. I mean, why would a rogue barbarian also have this ancestral obsession?
So when it comes to that with rogues, especially rogues, there's not really a lot of detail given about why are they a rogue? What's the source of their power? They're just sneaky. They have some martial prowess through just standard training. It's on the same level as a fighter. It's not like all fighters have been trained in a gladiatorial arena or soldiers. They have martial prowess. They train up to it. Rogue's the same way. So you can really mix that with anything. You have like, the classic barbarian out in a tribe that honors their ancestors a lot, and this particular one seems to have a little more dexterous than the rest, and just has some additional skills that they decide to train up.
But we're also talking sneakiness.
Not necessarily.
What do you mean not necessarily? The main class feature is sneak attack.
A,
Which doesn't...
that was a misnomer.
Poorly
B,
named.
I would argue that no, a tribal barbarian is never going to acquire the skills a rogue really needs. Any even casual glance at a rogue, you really got to force it to have somebody who did not grow up in the city end up as a rogue. The more realistic thing is a barbarian type who did end up kind of in the criminal underworld. Someone who,
Sure.
and this is going back to anime archetypes,
Ooh, my favorite.
the huge buff guy who's quicker than he looks.
Oh,
That's a good archetype.
it is, especially once he takes off his entire vest of daggers. He'll be so much quicker.
It's like nobody sees it coming. It's like, oh, what's that guy? He's just a big dumb brute. But no, he's actually the boss. And that little guy you were talking to, just a front. And when you go to attack him because you think you're so fast, he's like, nope. That's perfect
Okay,
in anime D&D.
In anime D&D, yes. So that's one way. We've got a barbarian who enters into the seedy underbelly of a city, let's say, something along those lines, a thief's guild. Can we think of a way that it works the other way, where they're a rogue and then become a barbarian?
So depending on the subclass you choose for barbarian, a lot of them are very much flavored to that kind of almost shamanistic feeling. Totem warrior, ancestral guardian, storm herald barbarian,
Right.
zealot. So zealot's a little unique, but we'll put a pit in that. The frenzy one, or berserk. I don't remember
Berserk,
the
yeah.
exact name. That really does not have any tie back to like tribal shamanistic life or anything like that. They just rage and go fucking nuts. Unfortunately, that subclass is not the greatest.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, I get what you're saying, though. It could just be a rogue with a temper.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. What do they get? They can enter into a frenzy where they can make a melee attack as a bonus action. And, wow, when they end their rage, they suffer 1 level of exhaustion.
That was always the downfall of that particular class.
Yeah.
It's like the benefit you get is great. The bonus action attack while raging. The penalty to it is too much.
Way too much.
I would argue that it can fit into a campaign if you're not min-maxing. It's like we've got this absolute monster of a berserker on our team, and he can go ham, but he's not very useful afterwards.
I'm
especially
sorry,
after
Master.
the second one.
I'm sorry, Master. I have to go all out just this once. That's basically what we have with that. I mean, he's going to get exhaustion, of course. As you said, after the second one, it's going to be really, really debilitating. I mean, how many rages do they even get? So, I mean, if they're raging 6 times, that could outright kill them.
Is there a capstone that's like, hey, you can't kill yourself by getting too mad?
No.
I don't think so.
Man, literally too angry
Yeah,
to
I think
die.
it's a mindless rage. They can't be charmed or frightened. Intimidating presence. They could frighten people while raging.
That's actually funny because at 20th level, they get unlimited rages, but they don't get unlimited ignore exhaustions. I haven't really thought about that one too much, but that's kind of a terrible subclass.
You don't have to go and do ultra rage, though. It's what you have to
true.
keep in mind.
It's a
Wait.
choice.
Oh, that's
You
just
can
the frenzy's like a rage plus.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
And it
that's a little bit more reasonable.
Turns you into the only thing able to hit more than a fighter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously
As
going
much
to be
as a fighter.
Doesn't fighter get up to 4 attacks by 17th level?
And then barbarian gets 3, and then don't you get an extra
They
with the relentless?
I
or
thought they
the-
only get 2.
They only get 2.
They
Where
only
are you
get
getting that
2?
3? Yeah.
Yeah, and then the bonus action brings it up to 3. That's it. Yeah, fighters are kind of insane in that sense.
They just get them brutal criticals.
and huge damage bonuses with their rage.
Right. It's just +2 flat out with rage, right?
Is it?
We should at least know the basics behind rage, guys.
The damage
Yeah.
it goes up based on. Go flip over to the table. Rage
Rage
damage by
damage.
level. Yeah,
Oh, hey. Okay, so at 9th level it goes up to 3. I mean, it's really not that much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, over the course of a campaign, every rage hit's going to be great. But it only goes up to +4 max.
Right.
Still worthwhile, and it's good that it adds something. So, Ancestral Guardian, that looks pretty good. What other barbarian classes are we thinking? How about Zealot? You said put a pin in that.
Just this isn't really a multi-class discussion. Just the Zealot is kind of, to me, interesting. It's sort of a standout from an RP perspective of the barbarian, where the rest of them, either you have the Berserk Frenzy one, Path of the Berserker, which is kind of just an inner thing that could be from whatever. Then you have a bunch of stuff that lead back to a tribal shamanistic life, and then you have the Zealot, which just fits a little oddly, I think. Like you could have like a religious zealot barbarian, like it's a barbarian to like the god of Bahamut, or I'm drawing a blank on other ones, and
Tons of other ones, doesn't matter.
Probably not Bahamut.
Well,
no, I say that's dragons,
but Path of the Storm Herald's basically the same thing.
I would
Is it?
say not at all, even a little. I would say that'd be so incorrect that it borders on just retarded.
You're saying that it's not also spiritual?
No, it's about storms, man.
No, that's fine. I understand that. Obviously, the class features are entirely different. I'm saying the flavor behind it. You could also be worshiping a god for Storm Herald, and your powers come from your god. That's not totally off base here.
Well, no, it doesn't say anything about that. It's mainly channeling the abilities of the harshest environments in the world. It's like a really mad weather enthusiast.
Ooh, angry weatherman. That's going to be the play here.
I call this attack the low pressure zone.
Can we talk about how terrible Storm Herald is, though?
No, we
Mechanically.
can't, because
I
everybody
hate it.
says that, but the reality is that every single one of these things should not be a choice. They should be interchangeable.
My
What do you mean?
You have to choose each level, each thing you get in this stupid class. You're like, oh, am I going to go desert? Am I going to go sea? Am I going to go tundra? Half of them are worthless, and none of them mesh together in a flavorful way.
no.
If
Yep.
you choose to min-max this stuff, it's like a gimped version of the tribal barbarian.
Right, but I mean, a lot of the barbarian classes kind of fall behind the totem warrior, in my opinion. I mean, all the other ones, they're more flavorful than the totem warrior, but at the end of the day, the bear totem just kicks everything out of the water.
Yeah, and that's what I would argue the Storm Herald tries to follow in the path of the totem barbarian and just utterly drops the ball.
Right. I'd definitely argue that it's more flavorful. I really like it as a class, but mechanically it's, as you said, not very great. I mean, being able to add an extra D6 or, 2D6 at a much higher level, at 10th level, I mean, that's just nothing.
No, it's you make a lot of choices and none of them are good.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I don't even like the idea of switching between them.
Yeah, that ruins the flavor for me.
Right, because usually you're going to start off by being like, I'm a barbarian of the desert. And then midway through, you're like, actually, the ability to breathe underwater sounds nice. Like, that's just immediately min-maxing. There's no flavor behind it.
I'm an equal opportunity environments zealot.
Then you're just a meteorologist.
At least with the totems, it's like, oh, I'm going to choose a different totem animal to pledge my allegiance to. This one's like, I like the desert. I like the sea. The tundra seems cool this time. It's like, no, you're just an asshole. You have no loyalty to any of these extreme environments. And as a weather enthusiast myself, that's just unacceptable.
Will should have been a meteorologist, Meldon.
Oh, it would have been so good on TV.
And then to talk further synergy, these two classes together can get very tanky. So rogues actually, even though it's not really part of the archetype, have a surprising amount of things to help them mitigate damage between what's it called? You have evasion, and then I can't remember the name of it, where you could use your reaction to take half damage. So right there, that helps a lot with survivability.
That's later in the game, right?
In mid-level. Evasion's at 7, and then something about dodge, artful
Elusive?
dodge.
At 18?
No,
Sure.
not elusive. It's much lower than that. Uncanny Dodge,
Uncanny Dodge.
Oh.
5th level. And then
Yeah.
then Evasion at 7th level. That's where if you make a dex save, where it's like if you succeed and take half damage, and you succeed, you take no damage. And if you fail, you still take half damage.
Which, of course, goes great with Danger Sense.
yes.
Which is that...
You get advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects you can see.
Oof.
So, I mean,
So that's
advantage
one of
and
those
then
things
have
that
it.
looks like it overlaps, but it just synergizes.
Yes, very, very well.
Yeah. And then go a Barbarian, the totem thing.
Yeah.
Barbarian.
Yeah, where you get resistance, raging resistance against all damage types except for psychic. And then that paired with Uncanny Dodge and Evasion is a very tanky character.
Right, because it doesn't even say you get resistance to the damage type. You have the attack's damage against you.
Right.
I have to double check which happens first. Do you have it and then... Does it matter? And then get resistance?
It
Or get
doesn't matter,
resistance?
It doesn't mathematically matter, but it's like a subsequent thing. You have it, and then you have it again.
Right, because normally if you have resistance in 2 different ways, then you just have a flat-out resistance.
But what you
right?
have to
It
keep in
doesn't-
mind is any kind of damage type outside of a normal attack is probably not going to be split by that Uncanny Dodge. So if you get like mind blasted by something, that overcomes both of them, you don't get to just be like, oh shit.
What do you mean? I don't see anything saying that Uncanny Dodge wouldn't
If
have
it's
that
a
attack.
saving throw as opposed to an attack.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fair.
So that's what a lot of things are going to come out to.
Okay.
But any kind of like a cantrip or attack rolled against you, yeah, it would be halved and then halved.
All right, so making our way through, I mean, it seems like really Barbarian's got a lot of subclasses that work well. All of their main stats or main class features go up pretty well. How about Rogue Archetypes? Did you think any
So-
on that?
The two of them, it's kind of the same thing as we discussed with the Monk Rogue, with the Inquisitive and Mastermind. They're subclasses that they have a lot of out-of-combat utility and very flavorful, and then meshing them with a Barbarian can kind of up their combat utility as well and make them more viable.
At the cost of some multi-attribute dependence.
Mhm.
Those two, they add more to the bonus action economy,
Mhm.
and they do generally add a minor stat requirement for true effectiveness. They're not necessarily bad, but I think you could do better.
Yeah.
As long as you don't do Arcane Trickster.
Yeah,
Never roll Arcane Trickster.
I can't think of a reason to.
All right, no. You can't cast spells well.
No, I'd honestly rather do a Rogue Wizard multi-class in like any situation.
Right.
Um,
The Assassin generally pairs well.
yeah.
Flavor-wise, it meshes with that big brute that's hiding the underhanded side of him or herself.
Right.
Because a lot of this assassin stuff, when you first read it, I know my initial thing was it's like you have this sneaking through the shadows and leaping out and stabbing someone and disappearing, and it's actually more about infiltration.
I mean, isn't Thief more about infiltration?
Thief.
Oh, you mean infiltration of like more than infiltrating a house? You're saying like
you want to go assassinate someone, so you impersonate someone else to get close to them.
right, like a bodyguard.
Yeah,
Because you're a big dude.
There you go. Actually, yeah, that's a really cool play. Where so you have that thing we've been talking about, the brute who was the roguish whatever, and lives life as an assassin, and his whole thing to do is get hired on as a bodyguard.
That really only works once or twice.
You think? I mean, it's not like they have the internet.
The
and
criminal
phones and-
underworld especially does not spread rumors like that. It's
No,
like,
that's-
oh man, don't hire bodyguards that are huge and also kind of sneaky.
Okay, that's fair. I guess all bodyguards are supposed to be huge.
They
and
also
or
don't have the
sneaky.
internet, so it's like low information transmission abilities.
Right, and you can create an entire new identity for yourself and have a full fleshed out history, and they're not looking for that.
Regardless, Assassin is just like a universally great rogue archetype. It's one of the few that came out of this book that were just like, that is a perfect rogue.
You know what I like? The level 3 ability, Assassinate.
That's just ridiculous.
It's really good, but on top of that, any creature that is surprised with this attack is a critical hit.
Yep.
That mixed with brutal criticals is
Yeah.
always going to be really nice. I mean, any chance that you can get a critical as a barbarian is just to the moon. But this is really good combination there.
It's to the moon.
It's to the moon.
Like, I know people use that anymore.
They don't.
Right.
It's a pretty antiquated phrase. Jared, the 30-year-old boomer, coming with the old stuff, the good stuff.
I'm keeping it.
The D&D Advanced Edition stuff.
So, I guess you got me here, Kevin. I'm a little bit shocked, but they do work out pretty well together.
Mm-hmm.
As I don't know if we said in here so far, they're only needing a 13 in strength and a 13 in dex. Dex is, of course, going to be at least 13, and strength, there's no reason not to throw it on there as well. I guess the only thing you're missing out is you're getting an extra attack, but you only have one chance at a sneak attack. It also have to follow all those other rules of having a companion within 5 feet, which can honestly cause a problem in Barbarian world because you're always charging in first for the most part.
Or that's where a reckless attack comes in. You give yourself advantage.
Exactly.
Right.
Swashbuckler,
Or
too.
swashbuckler.
Oh, yeah.
You know? If we're not going with the assassin, which we don't have to, swashbuckler also works.
Right. Then but that one's weird because you have to be isolated. It's just you and one other creature.
And with a incredibly mobile barbarian, you could make that happen.
Right. Or you can shove them 5 feet
Oh,
and then move up.
Get outta here.
And then get that sneak attack. You're probably better off just smashing him with the battle axe.
You stop that immediately. But yeah, no, this is a class that could. I think this works mechanically very well. I think this works flavor wise,
Specifically,
in a very very limited fashion.
Right.
I think there's only a handful of ways you could justify being a rogue barbarian, and I think we did go over them. Any creativity you add is going to kind of stretch thin either side of it. It's like, how did you become a barbarian? I really like to lift and pick pockets.
Or you get into that reformed rogue, but instead of going to something that actually makes sense, they get ingrained in a tribal life, and that's it. They're just barbarians from them, a masculinity cult. but that's just feels like a stretch. But I mean, if you really want to do it, I mean, it's an option. It just feels awkward. And one of the things that I hate, it's come up almost every single time now, where the reformed idea, it really prevents you from going back and forth between your levels. You kind of just go, okay, I'm leaving that life behind and I'm locking in this new one. Otherwise, I don't know, it just feels cheesy and like you're stretching
that's
something
the
out.
nature of multi-class, though, is just like, how do you switch between these, especially on a narrative level? You just you gotta fudge the truth, I guess, is the best way to put it.
But in this case, I think it makes sense if you're a barbarian going into the criminal underworld. I mean, it's just a matter, I don't know, I mean, what is leveling up as a barbarian? You understand your anger more? Or, I mean, it's more the subclasses that it makes any sense with. But beyond that, you just lifted more. You just keep on lifting. You get huge.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Or I like the idea of the mastermind barbarian multiclass, where with the mastermind, they are played like, the leader of a thieves guild or something along those lines, and they're always the ones that are in control of the situation, because that's how the whole subclass is built. They're manipulative, they're smart, they're charismatic, but if they are pushed in the wrong way, they flip a switch and go berserk.
Yeah, but what did you just say? They're intelligent, they're charismatic. Oh, those are our dump stats.
You can still play them like that.
Most criminals are going to dump int and charisma, so if you hit a 10 on either of those, you're in like the top 90%. Let's go with that. But you're kind of going for like a kingpin type style of character.
Yeah.
Like a huge, scary, brute-looking man, but also got some thinking going up in that noggin.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm expecting that to be, I guess, intimidation-based more than anything. But if you want, like, mastermind, that's telling me, like, schemes. So that's making me think intelligence, which I just don't see that being higher than 10.
I guess that goes to something we could probably have a discussion on right now. Should you play your character that strongly to the attributes?
Yes.
I say no.
Then it completely ruins the point.
It's a little bit of both.
Will finding the middle ground. That never happens.
This is new. This is new.
I like to be moderate whenever I get to disagree with everybody at the table.
Now, I mean, I get what you're saying where it can go both ways. You didn't make any points. You just said, I disagree, and it's in the middle. But the only times is if it's like, in these one small circumstances, this person can shine. But if you're saying, oh, they're average or below average int, but they're a criminal mastermind. It's
Well,
like,
no, they're not a criminal mastermind. What they are is a criminal leader of sorts. You're looking at, we're not talking about an academic circle where they're rocking 8 int. We're talking about a bunch of thugs and just bastards running around town, and you're like, you know what? I got bigger thoughts. I may not be able to do math fast or remember my birthday, but I've got ideas. I've got ideas about where we should go as a gang.
Okay, but then they're also... So that actually kind of goes against intelligence, and you're talking more charisma to be able to lead them. So now we're saying everything is at least average.
Well, it's going to be, you're going to have to, as an adventurer, you're always going to roll a little average compared to the general population you're around.
But that's what skills are. They start off at basic person, right?
10? Yes.
10 is supposed to be an average person. So if you're saying you are a criminal leader and I'm about as charismatic as any other person you'd find.
All right,
Seriously?
so let's say that, but I'm also 350 pounds of solid muscle, and I do have ambition. That replaces charisma in its own way, but it doesn't replace it in any kind of situation where you'd need charisma. It's like, oh, I'm going to smash your tiny pickpocket skull if you don't help me establish this gang. But when you're trying to convince a noble, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't import all these gray renders, it's like you're not going to be able to do it because you're in a different environment. But your starting environment, you could still play it off that way. I think that's a stretch, personally.
Okay, so that's all fine and dandy, but now we're talking about maintaining your stats and role-playing to your stats when you're outside of your comfort zone. So when you're in your comfort zone, sure, you can be a little bit more charismatic than you are on your sheet, or a little bit more intelligent compared to your surrounding. But that doesn't mean that you should be role-playing in general as an intelligent or as a charismatic person. I mean, you can't be more strong just because you think that it fits better with your character.
I'll give it to you. I'll say this. But when you leave your role-playing source, so to speak, you join the adventuring world and it all kind of goes out the window. I was an X, and like when you were an X, your stats didn't really count. You were established that way. As soon as you joined the adventuring world, it kind of all went out the window, and you do have to return to your comfort zone. You are no longer as important as you once were. You're now outside your wherever you grew up. You don't have your friends out. You got to go troll dungeons. So that's the kind of exception. It's only for backstory. It's not your current character. You're not the criminal mastermind anymore. You're the adventurer who cracks skulls.
Okay, I can get down with that. So, I mean, that's more or less saying in your day-to-day adventuring life, you're going to be very uncharismatic, unintelligent, whatever it is. Those are just the two we've used as an example. But if for some reason you had a plot reason to go back home, everybody's looking up to you as if, like, you're the smartest guy around, you're the funniest guy around, whatever it is. I could see that working.
Mm-hmm. Or in this particular case, you could just take the hit to some other stats and boost charisma and or intelligence.
Right.
It's actually not mechanically combat-wise optimal, but so what if that's the character you want to play?
Yeah, of course there's always that option, but you're still just going to get everything to about average, and you're right back where we started with this.
Well, kind of. So
Above
if you
average.
take like a half-orc, which I'm sure gives you, what, 2 strength and
1 constitution,
I think. So 14 in strength bumps you up to 16. You guys to do. So if you're willing to for con to not be that high, you could do 11 constitution bumps you up to 12. You get your 13 dex, or probably put it at 14 dex. There's still room to get intelligence and charisma up there a bit, or you could just say screw it. All right, I'm dumping con. Constitution is going to be an 8. Which is always a scary character, but for that manipulative criminal mastermind, who's kind of a, like, don't piss this person off because they're going to go berserk, but you could probably kill them and then everyone's just going to kill you.
How do
like
you...
a glass cannon.
Yeah, how do you relate constitution to ambition? I've always tied those two stats in my head together.
Are you serious?
Wait,
Yeah, like your personal
No,
will to
that's
move
not.
on.
No, it's your ability to like not die.
And that's just it.
It's a physical stat.
It's like your ability to eat spicy food, get way too drunk, and get hit in the kidneys, and not go down.
Just keep on moving.
Okay, that's it. It's your will to not pass out.
Okay, so charisma is where you tie any other type of just
ambition-
mental fortitude besides wisdom and intelligence. I guess
Not really.
you're.
I mean,
let me-
anything
let-
besides that, any statistics, yes.
Let me give you an analogy where strength is to intelligence, kind of mental stat, your mental intelligence, then constitution would be charisma.
No.
They kind of can switch off. No?
Constitution's always put to wisdom.
Really?
Wisdom's your like ability to resist being like, hey, you should stab yourself in the eyeball. It's like, no, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Constitution, I don't want to shit my pants. That it's identical like that.
Okay.
Dexterity and charisma have always gone hand in hand.
How?
Maybe they're just not
That's
good to
the
compare.
equivalent. It's
I think
it's
we're trying,
mental versus physical agility in a way.
I think we're trying
Okay.
to draw equivalents where there may not be any.
I see where he's going with this, though. Let's ride it. So, you're saying that, like, your ability to weave yourself through social conversations and situations like that is also your ability, or is in line with your ability to dodge out of physical things, weave through physical things. Again, these are really tough
Yeah.
analogies to make. Or
By
They're
the-
soft relations.
right.
By
right.
the book, charisma is force of personality. That's it. It's not like being manipulative and knowing how to like say the right thing over here and do a little tug over here and get all this stuff to happen. It's when you walk into the room and speak, how likely people are going to listen to you. And they may have a really negative reaction. They may not like you. You could be extremely unlikable, but very charismatic. Will.
I'm
Everybody
a perfect
hates
example.
Will, but he
Half
speaks
of
good.
people hate me. The other half love me. And the other half just don't want to even think about it. Perfect split. But I will say this. Charisma is a precision art where intelligence isn't. Because you walk into that room and you precisely give out these social kind of cues and these social forces of personality. There is a precision to it that's similar to dexterity. Dexterity is hitting your target. Charisma's hitting your target. Intelligence and strength have always got that kind of brute, raw strength, whether it be mental or physical. So I will say that there is a soft relation between these things that is completely meaningless.
Totally.
100%
So, yeah,
autism.
what does it matter?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
No matter at all.
Okay.
All right, so anything left on rogues and barbarians? I've said my piece.
Yeah. Oh, minor thing. So we had all these big discussions and all that, and then going back to a little mechanical minor advantage. With barbarians, one of their cons of the class is they don't do much out of combat. All of their stuff is combat related. So out of combat, they're just kind of, yeah, they don't have much
Me
utility.
strong, me hit
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, they don't have much utility. But even just one level dip into rogue gets you expertise, which allows you to double your proficiency bonus for certain skills. And if you keep going, you're going to get... So you're kind of mixing with a skill monkey.
Right. Yeah, that definitely...
So it boosts that side of the barbarian.
Yeah, and it definitely improves that that intimidation, as long as you're trying to make some brute force intimidations. Because those aren't always going to be charisma. Intimidation's ones that really switches back and forth a lot. Because the dude standing with a battle axe looking to crack your skull in or slash your skull in, doesn't matter. He's not doing it because look how intimidating his personality is. It's because he's got huge muscles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely useful for the crime boss scenario.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. What?
Yeah, that's it. I say let's move on to our monster of the week, presented by Kevin Odie.
Again. Jared didn't do his homework.
Jared did mixed homework. Time for the Yochlol. Let's hear it, Kevin. What do you got?
Yochlol. So this is a demon. I'm probably saying it wrong. Challenge rating 10. So this isn't necessarily like a campaign builder like the Starspawn from last week or anything like that. But I thought it was a really cool monster. It's from within the Abyss. They follow the Demon Lord of Loth, which is the Drow goddess, basically. And a lot of Drow actually have the ability to bring one of these things into existence from the Abyss into the material plane. In its raw form, it's this terrible tree slime monster. They describe it as a pillar of yellow slime. It looks like just like a deformed tree with an eye. It's page 65 of the Monster Manual. But it has the ability to shape change at will into that of a female drow. And it could speak Elvish and Undercommon, and it's really, you can't tell what it is when it does that. So you have this really strong, powerful, terrible demon that's able to infiltrate areas. You have no idea if you're talking to an actual drow or this terrible Yochlol demon. Generally, if you're speaking to a drow, they're probably not going to be that friendly anyways. But there's a lot of infiltration you could do. And then when it comes to actual stats of this thing, its AC and hit points aren't anything crazy, but it is a spellcaster. It has magic resistance, the ability to spider climb. And it could do dominate person, which is always kind of scary. And then its attacks, you have some decent attacks. But then you have this cool thing called Mist Form. And its other attacks are just kind of standard melee stuff. But it could do a decent amount of poison damage. So it actually hits pretty hard for its level. And then Mist Form, where it could transform into a toxic mist and could squeeze through a bunch of areas and get around and stuff like that. It's immune to anything except for magic damage, flying speed of 30 feet, and if it ends its turn in another creature's turn, which it can space, and which it can do in mist form, the creature needs to make a con save or become completely incapacitated while it's breathing in this mist.
For what it's worth, small correction there. It looks like if the other creature starts its turn there, not if the Yochlol ends its turn there. I know that's really small.
Oh, okay.
But if for some reason you enter it, you don't immediately get that.
True.
That is extremely interesting, though. I can just see so much with the infiltration.
Yeah.
I really like that concept. It's also terrifying.
It is. It's really scary looking.
For a gigantic deformed slime tree, it is remarkably well-rounded. It's the kind of thing that you could see being summoned and thrown at you, and it doesn't come right at you. It takes different forms. It sneaks around. It does all the things you wouldn't expect a slime tree to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd almost be good in a dungeon to have it kind of following behind, and that'd be a good, like, constant reminder that there's something watching them. Especially with that giant eye that it has. It'd just be a quick thing, like, you turn around and see a big eye staring at you, but when you notice it, it dodges out. I like its web walker ability, where it ignores movement restrictions caused by webbing. That's always one of the biggest issues with casting anything like web or along those lines, just because you're now stopped yourself and ruining your movement speed. And it doesn't have anything particularly crazy movement-wise. It's just 30 feet. But it's nice to know that it can just rush right in there while you're all stickied up and cause some problems.
Yeah. And then how this connects with the drow. So as I mentioned earlier, there are various drow creatures that have the ability to summon one of these. So I am DMing Out of the Abyss for these two and two others, where there's a lot of drow in it. So I hope I'm not spoiling anything for these two, but I think it's worth talking about. You could have a lone drow where it may seem like an easy fight. That, of course, we're just going to take the route of trying to attack and or capture this thing or this person, this drow, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, here is another challenge rating 10 demon out of nowhere, just completely fucking them up.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, its attacks and everything don't do a crazy amount of damage, except for that poison damage. If it hits while it's in spider form, that's an extra 66 poison damage.
I think if it just hits.
Yeah, just if it hits. There's no save or anything. It's just if it's in spider form, it does that additional.
No, Either one
Piercing in spider form. Damage
is
plus.
about the bite.
Yeah, so it makes 2 melee attacks. So this thing could also have a spider form. If it's in its tree form, or I'm imagining drow form, that's a slam attack. If it's in the spider form, it's a bite attack.
Right.
They both do the same thing, but the bite attack is a spider's piercing damage, while the other thing is bludgeoning damage.
Oh.
And then regardless of which...
It does that poison.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And also just the fact that it's got resistance to basically everything,
Mm-hmm.
except for
The weird ones.
it doesn't have acid. Is acid damage?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you. It doesn't have resistance to that, which is actually a little bit surprising. But cold, fire, lightning, and then bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. And then of course immunity to poison. That definitely makes it a little bit more difficult to deal with. Unless you've got psychic damage.
Mm-hmm. No one has bards have psychic damage.
Yeah, and even then they don't do much,
Mm-hmm.
except for a couple things here and there. It's also got really good saves, Dex, and Wisdom, and Charisma. So
Dex, Int, Wisdom, and Charisma. That's 4 saving throws.
yeah,
That's kind of ridiculous in its own way.
Yep. Yeah, plus 6, 5, 6, and 6.
right. and it's-
Crazy dark vision, 3 languages, deception plus 10.
Yeah,
Because
which
a
is
drow female is not necessarily always going to be something you treat as innately hostile. It's like 8 times out of 10, yeah, you're probably going to be at least pretty combat wary of it. But you're not going to be like, oh crap, a giant poisonous slime tree. So they'd be like, oh yeah, totally, I'm hurt and I'm ready to leave the drow and be your friend. It's like, no, you're a giant slime tree, but I didn't know that because you deceived me.
Yeah.
so that's really cool. I hope you don't pull that out on us anytime soon.
Yeah, that would be terrible. I would hate that.
The level you guys are would just kill you.
It'd be pretty friggin' close.
Yeah,
Level 4.
It'd be pretty friggin' close.
at least it's
Alright.
not resistant to like radiant and necrotic.
At
those
least
ones.
Darrendel's immune to that.
All right, we will do a unofficial fight with your Out of the Abyss party against this thing, just like in an open room, and we'll see how close it is.
We can do we can do a dream combat sequence.
There we go.
They're like the classic Doom levels in Doom. You just like step out of the real world and just do something different.
Hey, you want some more meaningfulness behind that? You make it so that if you lose like a TPK in the dream, you gain a level of madness.
Ooh. It is Spooktober.
It is.
So Kevin, you got to bring that spooky.
And Out of the Abyss. Oh, we can bring the spook.
I bet I'm fucking terrified, my friend. By Yochlol Dreams.
Yeah. Now, actually, Out of the Abyss could get really over the top and grotesque. Like there's some stuff coming that's heavy. It's
From written or from
bit of both. It's
Half of it's Kevin's weird, disgusting imagination.
it's how it's written really lends itself to it. Some of it actually just as written is really terrible.
I say even so far, like it's just been creepy a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give any spoilers, but just some of the things we've dealt with just leave that uneasy feeling. It really does a great job of making you feel like you're in an entirely different world.
That's being overran by demons.
That's being
Like,
overran.
The Underdark is already kind of a scary, gross, kind of creepy place for surface dwellers like ourselves. But then, and I don't think this is giving anything away. In Out of the Abyss, demons are spilling into the Underdark.
Yes.
And demons are just terrible. Like, I read through that first chapter of Mordekainen's Tome of Foes,
Yep.
which goes into devils versus demons in their war, and
That book really peaks in the first chapter.
oh, I didn't get to the others yet, really.
It's.
Oh,
I mean,
they're
it's
like page
Devils
through.
vs. Demons is very hard to follow up on.
yeah.
But no, the demons are just terrible. Like,
Yep.
oh my god.
Well, it really reminds me of the Doom game, though. Games where it's just these hideous, terrifying creatures that just pop into an area and just begin destroying everything without purpose.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and just their effect, their presence warps the world to
Yeah.
their likes.
Yep.
Which is very much you're now seeing in Out of the Abyss in the spooky Underdark.
That could just be those weird little dark gnome things.
I think you mean the
Darrow.
The Darrow.
They're
yeah.
just dark gnomes, Darrow. One's
Very
an
different.
insane version with beards.
Yeah, pretty different.
All right. Any final thoughts on the Yochlol?
That's not even close.
Yochlol.
Yochlol.
The Yochlol.
Yochlol. Is it the ch sound? Yochlol?
Yochlol.
Was that be it?
Yolch mayo.
Yochlol mayo.
Yoch mayonnaise.
Yes.
Yolch mayonnaise.
Yes. That's it.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
He's cool.
Yeah.
He's like a slime tree and also a spider.
Yeah. Not on that specifically. I guess, I mean, if we want to discuss just demons as a whole a bit more, there's so many here.
That sounds like
plenty
of room.
We will not get into any specifics. It just, I like demons coming forth in a campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking
That's
weird.
cool stuff.
I like demons.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. You've been great.
Woo.
They didn't even participate.
They didn't participate, but they
They weren't
raised
even
our
there.
spirits.
No one listens to this except the people you con into listening to it.
No.
Stop the recording.
Hey, shut it
We have
down.
thousands of listeners.
Jesus Christ.
Do the outro.
What's the out? Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Next time on Monsters and Multiclass.
I don't know what monster.
Oh, fucking Christ. Next time on Monsters and Multiclass.
Next week, join us as we dive into the Barbarian Monk multiclass, as well as look at a new monster of the week, the Oblek.
Oblex.
Oblex.